It's hard to imagine any business these days trying to make it without being online in some way.
Yeah, it's just essential, right?
I mean, whether you're selling like actual products or if you're, offering your expertise as like a digital service, or even if you just want to build a stronger connection with the people who are already your customers.
Yeah.
Being online has gone way past being like a nice little extra,
It's not even a trend anymore.
It's table stakes at this point.
Right. It's just the playing field.
It's how you reach people.
Right. It's how you stay relevant.
And honestly, it's how you stay competitive.
Absolutely.
And that takes us right to the question that we're going to really kind of dig into in this deep dive, which I know is something that's on a lot of business owners' minds.
Yeah.
Which is, how do you choose the right online commerce platform?
Right, because there are so many.
The one that's right for your business.
Right.
And it's not as simple as it might sound at first, right?
No, it's so much more than just like throwing up a couple product photos and hoping for the best.
Exactly. You can almost think of it like the kind of strategic thinking that goes into setting up a real-world brick-and-mortar store.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
Right. You have to think about like location, layout, how customers are going to flow through the space, but you're doing all of this in the digital realm.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And when we look at the sources that we've got for this episode, for this deep dive,
Right.
there are a few different types of platforms that they highlight that stand out.
Yeah.
And the first one is the kind that we all know, these massive online marketplaces.
Right.
So we're talking about places like Amazon, Etsy, eBay.
Big names, everybody knows them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And for some businesses, that's a fantastic way to kind of dip their toes in the water.
Right, to test the waters.
But then you've got what they call integrated platforms.
Yeah.
Things like WooCommerce and Magento.
So these are like, they kind of weave that e-commerce functionality right into your existing website.
Right.
If you've already got a site.
So it's like adding that shopping cart functionality to something you've already built.
Right.
And they can give you a lot more control over the look and feel and the functionality.
Yeah, a lot more customization.
But they often require like a little bit more technical know-how.
A little more under the hood.
A little more, under the hood knowledge.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, of course, at the high end, you have completely custom-built websites.
Yeah.
Right. These are the ones that, you might go to a specialized digital agency to create.
Right. If you've got like very, very specific needs.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's more expensive, but they really can be incredibly tailored to exactly what you want.
Yeah, they're like the bespoke suits of the e-commerce world.
Yeah, exactly.
But what really stood out to me in the sources that we read for this deep dive, especially for small and medium-sized businesses.
Right, the little guys.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Were the advantages of what are called software as a service platforms, or SOSH platforms.
Yeah, Sasha.
Right.
It's a common term these days.
These are the names that we've all heard of: Shopify, Wix, Squarespace, BigCommerce.
Yeah.
And for a lot of businesses,
I think for a lot of the people listening,
yeah,
this is probably the sweet spot.
This is where you're likely to find the right fit.
Yeah, this is where it gets interesting.
Now, what's really fascinating about these SOSH platforms is that they've really leveled the playing field in a way that wasn't possible before.
They really have. It's amazing how they've democratized e-commerce.
Yeah, because instead of needing to hire a whole team of web developers or having to manage like complex server infrastructure and all this stuff.
Yeah, it's way too much for most people.
It's daunting, right?
Mm-hmm.
But these platforms offer like an all-in-one solution.
Yeah, everything you need in one place.
Right, through a subscription model. So you pay a monthly fee and that gives you access to all of these T's and features.
Right, which makes it much more accessible.
Much more accessible.
Yeah.
And it gives you a lot more direct control over your store's features and functionality.
Yeah.
And it lets you get up and running so much faster than you might think.
It really does. I mean, you can literally have a store up and running in an afternoon if you wanted to.
So let's unpack this a little bit.
Okay.
Let's get into some of the details.
Let's get down to the brass tacks.
Yeah, brass tacks.
Yeah.
If you're thinking about going with a SOSH e-commerce platform for your business,
Right.
What are some of the must-haves? What are the absolute, non-negotiables?
The things you can't compromise on.
Right.
Yeah.
And the sources that we looked at had a really insightful list of key considerations.
Yeah.
And the first one that just jumped out at me was ease of use.
That's fundamental, right?
Like, just how easy is it to actually get your store set up and running on this platform?
Right, because you don't want to have to be like a tech wizard to get started.
You don't want to have to hire a developer just to set up your shop.
Yeah.
So you want a platform that's genuinely user-friendly,
Right.
that lets you design a professional-looking storefront, even if you're not a design whiz.
Yeah, exactly. Think of it like using any other kind of software that you're familiar with, you know?
Right.
It should be intuitive. It should be easy to figure out.
Easy to learn.
Yeah.
And one of the things that the source really emphasized was the ability to easily manage and update your product catalog,
Yeah, that's essential.
because that's the heart of your store.
Your bread and butter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
And your catalog needs to cater to the specific needs of your industry.
Yes.
You know.
So if you're selling, clothing or home goods, for instance,
Yeah.
you're going to need things like detailed size charts,
Yeah.
easy color selection for customers,
Right.
those sorts of things.
And those sound obvious, but it's something that you need to check for,
Yeah.
because not every platform has that.
Right.
Yeah.
It might seem obvious, but it's not always there.
It's done.
And for those of you who are operating in multiple language markets,
Right.
the ability to create a truly bilingual site or even multilingual
Yeah.
is absolutely non-negotiable.
Especially these days with businesses going global so easily.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So ease of use is crucial.
Absolutely.
But it's not just about getting set up, right?
Yeah.
User friendliness needs to extend to that whole customer journey.
Yeah, the entire experience from the moment they land on your site
Yeah.
to the moment they check out.
When we talk about UX, right?
UX, user experience.
User experience.
Yeah.
And in e-commerce, that is absolutely everything.
Oh, it's huge.
It's everything.
Because if your website is a nightmare to navigate, people are just going to leave.
They're going to bounce.
Yeah, they're going to go to your competitor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So having an intuitive website, one that's a joy to use, that's easy to find what you're looking for,
Must be breeze.
that directly leads to increased customer satisfaction,
Mhm.
and it helps you reach your business goals.
Right.
It's almost like the online version of walking into a really well-organized, clearly signposted shop.
I love that analogy.
Right.
Yeah.
Everything's in its place.
Yeah.
You know where to go to find what you need.
You don't have to hunt and peck around.
You're not frustrated.
Yeah.
You're not confused.
Yeah.
And our source even suggested getting input from experts in web interaction and how people actually navigate websites.
Well, that's a great point.
Can be a huge advantage here.
It can, because sometimes, as the business owner,
Yeah.
what seems logical to you
Yeah.
might not be the most straightforward path for a first-time visitor.
Right, because you know your products inside and out.
You live and breathe it.
Yeah.
But somebody coming to your site for the first time,
Yeah.
they don't have that knowledge.
So getting that outside perspective can really help you highlight areas for improvement
Right.
that you might not even be aware of.
Totally.
Now, shifting gears a little bit, let's talk about something that's absolutely non-negotiable when it comes to e-commerce.
Okay.
Security.
Huge.
Huge.
Yeah.
Right? When you're dealing with online financial transactions,
Right.
security is not just important, it's the foundation of everything.
It's everything.
It's the foundation of trust,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So you need to be completely confident that the platform you're choosing has really, really robust security measures in place.
Yeah. You can't mess around with security.
And the source that we read, they specifically highlighted HTTPS access and firewalls.
Right. Those are like the foundational elements.
Yeah, like the basic building blocks.
Yeah.
And so for those of you who might not be familiar with these terms, HTTPS, think of it like encrypting the conversation that's happening
Right.
between your customer's web browser and your website.
Yeah. It's like putting it in a secret code.
Exactly.
So that anybody who's trying to eavesdrop
Yeah.
can't read it.
So this makes it so much harder for hackers to steal sensitive information,
Right.
like credit type numbers and other personal details.
It's essential these days.
Yeah, it's not optional.
No.
And firewalls, they act like a barrier, right?
Yeah, they block unauthorized access to your website and your server.
So these are the kinds of things that you just absolutely have to have in place.
Right. And it's not just about protecting your customers.
Yeah.
It's about protecting your business too.
Because a security breach can be devastating.
It can.
It's not just the financial impact, it's
Yeah.
the damage to your reputation.
It's the trust that you lose.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to shop at a store where they don't feel like their information is safe.
Yeah, and it's hard to recover from that.
Yeah, once that trust is broken, it's really, really tough to build it back.
It's really hard.
So security, huge, huge, huge.
Non-negotiable.
But now let's talk about something else that's really important.
Okay.
And that is payment options.
Yeah.
So you want to make it as easy as possible for your customers to pay you.
Right. You want to remove any friction.
Yeah, the more options you give them, the better the chances of them actually completing the purchase.
Yeah, it's like you don't want somebody to get all the way to the checkout and be like, "Oh, I don't use that payment method."
Right, and they abandon their cart.
Yeah, that's the worst.
Yeah, that's a lost sale.
Yeah.
So the source that we read mentioned a few of the really popular payment gateways that are out there.
Yeah.
Things like PayPal, Square, Apple Pay, Stripe.
Right.
And you need to think about like which of these, and maybe even some others that are specific to your target audience that you're willing to accept.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's also really important that the platform can handle all the complexities of calculating sales taxes,
Right.
shipping fees,
That's huge.
whether it's for local, national, or even international orders.
Yeah, especially if you're selling internationally, that can get really complicated.
Yeah, because you're dealing with different tax rates,
Right.
different currencies,
Yeah.
different shipping regulations.
Yeah, it's a mess.
It's a whole lot of stuff. And a lot of times, those features are integrated right into the platform.
They are, but it's really important to verify that they meet your specific needs.
Yeah, right. Because if they don't, that can lead to a lot of customer frustration.
Yeah, and those abandoned carts.
And the abandoned carts, exactly.
Yeah.
So now let's talk about the engine that powers every online store.
Okay.
And that's hosting.
Hosting, yeah.
Right.
That's the like the infrastructure.
This is the behind the scenes stuff that makes sure your website is actually accessible to people.
Right, 24/7.
24/7, ideally.
Ideally.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So high performance hosting is absolutely critical for a positive user experience.
It really is.
And there are a few key questions that you need to ask here.
Okay. Yeah.
Number one, does the web hosting guarantee a high level of uptime?
Right.
So uptime is the percentage of time that your website is actually up and running and accessible to visitors.
Right, because you don't want it to be down.
You don't want it to be down.
Especially when people are trying to buy things.
Ideally, you're looking for something around 99.9% uptime.
Yeah, that's the gold standard.
That's the gold standard,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And because any significant downtime directly translates to lost sales.
Absolutely. It's like closing the doors to your store.
It's like, yeah, if your physical store suddenly closed for a day or 2 days,
Yeah.
you're not going to make any sales.
No.
The same thing applies online.
Exactly.
So uptime, critical, and speed is also absolutely essential.
Oh yeah. In today's world, nobody wants to wait.
Nobody's got time to sit there and watch a little spinning wheel while a web page loads.
Right. And every extra second of loading time
Yeah.
can actually impact your conversion rates.
People will just bounce.
Yeah.
They'll go somewhere else.
Yeah, they're impatient.
So the platform that you choose needs to ensure fast page loading speeds.
It's not even really an option anymore. It's a necessity.
And it's not just about average loading time.
Right.
You need to think about those peak periods
The dizziest times.
when you're running a big sale.
Yeah.
It's the holiday season, Black Friday, Cyber Monday.
Right.
Can your platform handle that sudden surge of traffic without crashing?
Right. Without slowing to a crawl.
Without slowing to a crawl.
Yeah.
So the scalability of the hosting infrastructure is vital.
It's really, really important.
Really, really important.
Yeah.
So we've talked about uptime, we've talked about speed. Now let's talk about something that's almost taken for granted these days, but is absolutely critical, and that is mobile optimization.
It's not even a trend anymore. It's the reality.
It's just how people shop now.
Yeah.
So many people are browsing and buying on their smartphones and tablets
Yeah.
that if your site isn't optimized for mobile,
Right.
you are missing out on a huge chunk of potential customers.
You're leaving money on the table.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the platform you choose must be fully mobile friendly.
It's non-negotiable.
It has to be optimized for a whole range of different screen sizes and interfaces.
Right, because people are on different devices.
Different devices.
Different operating systems.
And they expect a seamless experience, whether they're browsing on a desktop computer, a laptop, a tablet, a phone.
They want it to be easy no matter what they're using.
It has to be smooth.
Smooth.
So, okay, we've covered ease of setup,
Yeah.
user experience, security. payments, hosting, mobile.
Right.
Now let's talk about the future.
Okay, the long game.
The long game.
Yeah.
What happens as your business starts to grow?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What happens when you start getting more traffic, when you start selling more products,
Yeah.
and you're adding new features to your store?
Right.
You need a platform that can grow along with you.
Scalability.
Scalability, that's the word.
Yeah.
So can it handle a larger product catalog?
Right.
Can it handle increased web traffic?
Can it handle all the back end stuff like order processing and inventory management?
Can it handle more complex operations as you expand?
Right.
And it closely tied to scalability is the concept of integration.
Integrations, yeah.
Right. Being able to connect seamlessly with your existing business systems and your marketing channels.
Right, because you're probably already using a bunch of different tools
Yeah.
to run your business.
So the source specifically talked about integration with things like CRM systems.
Right.
So customer relationship management systems.
Yeah.
These are the tools that help you manage your customer data.
Right, keep track of all your interactions.
Yeah, track your interactions.
Yeah.
And marketing platforms like Facebook and Instagram.
Those are big ones.
Right.
Yeah.
So you want your e-commerce platform to be able to talk to these other tools that you're already using.
Right, you want them to play nice together.
Yeah, to play nice together.
Yeah.
And a lot of times this is facilitated through what are called APIs.
APIs,
Application programming interfaces.
yeah, it sounds complicated.
It sounds complicated.
But it's basically just a way for different software programs to talk to each other.
It's like a digital translator.
Right, exactly.
Right,
Yeah.
so that they can share information and work together more efficiently.
Right.
And then let's not forget about plugins and extensions.
Oh, yeah, those are great.
Right. These are like little add-ons that you can install on your platform.
Yeah.
That give you extra features and functionality.
Right, without having to hire a developer to custom code it.
So so it can save you a lot of time and money in the long run.
It can.
Now, let's talk about something that's always top of mind for business owners.
Okay.
Pricing.
The bottom line.
Yeah, how much is this going to cost me?
Yeah.
So Sachet's platforms, they typically have a few different pricing models.
Right.
Some have, standard monthly subscription fees.
You pay a flat fee every month.
You pay a flat fee every month.
Yeah.
Others might offer flat rates depending on the features that you need.
Right, so like a basic plan, a premium plan.
Right, tiered pricing.
Yeah.
And some might even charge a percentage of your sales transactions.
Right, so the more you sell, the more they make.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the source that we read for this episode, they really emphasize the importance of looking out for any potential extra costs.
Hidden fees.
Yeah, hidden fees.
Yeah.
So things like, fees for specific app integrations.
Right.
Premium features that you might need down the road.
It's like the fine print.
It's the fine print.
Yeah.
Read the fine print.
Always read the fine print.
So you want to make sure you're calculating that total cost of ownership,
Right.
not just the initial subscription price.
yeah, the long-term costs.
And make sure it fits within your budget.
Right.
Make sure it makes sense for your business.
Absolutely.
Now, another really critical element for making sure that your online store actually gets seen by potential customers
Okay.
is search engine optimization,
SEO.
SEO.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is all about making it easy for people who are searching online for the products or services that you offer
Right.
to actually find you.
Because if they can't find you, they can't buy from you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the platform that you choose, it needs to be SEO friendly.
Right, it needs to play nice with Google.
It needs to play nice with Google.
Yeah.
It needs to meet the technical and structural requirements that search engines look for when they're ranking websites.
Yeah, it's a little bit technical, but basically it's just about making sure that your site is structured in a way that Google understands.
And some of the key features that you're going to want to look for are things like
Yeah.
the ability to customize your page URLs,
Right.
to write really compelling meta descriptions for your products and your pages,
Yeah.
and to create high quality, relevant content.
Content is king.
Content is king.
Yeah.
So SEO is super important, especially if you're a newer or a smaller business.
Yeah.
That's really trying to get that visibility.
You've got to get the word out.
You gotta get the word out.
Yeah.
Now, finally, let's talk about something that hopefully it won't need too often.
Okay.
But when you do need it, it is absolutely critical.
Right.
Technical support.
Support, yeah.
Because things go wrong.
You do.
Right.
Websites crash.
Websites crash.
Keeps-
You run into glitches. You need to know that you can get help when you need it.
You need to know that somebody's got your back.
Somebody's got your back.
Yeah.
So the source that we read for this episode, they really emphasize looking for providers that offer 24/7 emergency support.
Right. Because problems don't always happen during business hours.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And through multiple channels: email, live chat, phone.
Right, because some problems you can solve with an email.
Yeah.
Some problems you need to get on the phone and talk to somebody.
Exactly. And it's not just about fixing problems when they happen.
Yeah,
It's also about being proactive.
prevention is better than cure.
So the source also talked about the availability of training resources for your employees.
Yeah, that's huge.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you and your team are well trained on how to use the platform,
Yeah,
you're going to be much better equipped to manage your online store
right?
and to prevent those problems from happening in the first place.
Exactly.
So we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
We've talked about ease of use, security, scalability, support, and so much more.
Yeah, it's a lot to think about.
And what it really comes down to is this.
Okay.
The process of finding that ideal e-commerce platform,
Mhm.
it requires careful, thoughtful consideration.
It's not a decision to be rushed.
You can't just jump into this. You
No.
need to weigh all of these different factors that we've talked about
Yeah.
against the specific needs and goals of your business.
Right, what's right for one business might not be right for another.
Exactly. Yeah. And the source that we read for this episode, they really emphasized the importance of choosing a platform provider
Yeah,
who really understands your business objectives
right.
and who can offer comprehensive services that go beyond just those basic functionalities.
You want a partner, not just a vendor.
Yeah, you want somebody who's going to be in your corner, who's going to help you succeed.
Absolutely.
So at the end of the day, offering your